Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to the deep dive. Little grab bag today, Andy. There's a lot going on. I'd need a cathartic kind of way to unpack the NBA season, which is over. We're closing the chapter, and it's like it was a weird fizzle of an ending. I think everybody has kind of already chimed in on that.
Both sports. I mean, hockey and basketball. It was a lot of very fun moments in both of the playoffs as a whole. Yeah. And then I think most will agree they weren't very fun finals. As two teams just kind of ran out of steam, and they ran into really good teams from out west, which is good for those. Congrats to Vegas. Congrats to Denver. Back to grab bag. What does that mean out west? Like, does that have any
grab bag?
I mean, do you have grab bags? Is that a thing?
I think of like taking, like, you put your hand in like a Halloween candy, jug, and you grab something.
This is weird. So this was like, it shook loose a weird memory for me. So like our town festival, or whenever we would have the town celebration, all the stores, like the hardware store and the drugstore, they'd take a bunch of crap and put it in paper bags, and it'd be like, $3, and you didn't know what you were going to get. It was usually like a couple of good things and some things that were clearly they needed to get rid of. And like grab bags were the shit. Everybody wanted, because they made ones that were like, hey, these are for kids. There's going to be like a pack of baseball cards and some shitty toy in every one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just they probably don't even do this anymore. It feels like a pretty Midwestern thing.
Yeah.
It's like you would go to the hardware store and buy a bag that was random. I've seen it at liquor stores. They do random 6-pack.
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's fun. That's actually
fun. Or you reach into a cooler and you don't look and you just pull something out. Yeah, it's a grab bag. All right. Well, it's not really a grab bag as much as I just want to cover a lot of ground today. A lot happened in the world of sports in the last couple of weeks we haven't really commented on. I always like to do a little bit of navel gazing when a big season comes to an end, to think about like lessons learned and process and try to improve. And that's where we're at for the NBA. It's where we're at for clay tennis. That is close to where we're at for major golf. We got the third of four on the nigh. And
good discussion. I mean, let's start with NBA. Good discussion in the NBA chat right now that we're heavily, the one I view the most, about the NBA futures for next year already. Because we're like 2.5 weeks from Summer League and basically like a month from the beginning of the next season.
Yeah.
The draft is next week. And NBA, we joke NFL never sleeps, but the NBA schedule really does not have much downtime. And,
the draft is next week.
There was a pretty good discussion around the MVP, and casual NBA viewer / better Andy. I don't remember if it was Lockie or who said it. Somebody said, well, who should we bet then? And I think it was him who said nobody for MVP. It's a pretty short list, and it's basically, do the voters get it right about Joker next year if he plays at the same level, or does somebody really make a leap? And I think nobody might be the right answer, man. I left that conversation not wanting to bet on the NBA futures.
Yeah, no, and I think it speaks to where we are in the NBA right now, which is a little bit of a transitioning time. Do you get that? Like, we're transitioning out of 2 decades of LeBron James being the best player. We're transitioning out of some other really well-known superstars being alphas on potential title-winning teams. And the landscape is pretty flat. The NBA playoffs came in like a lion, went out like a lamb, largely because the difference between the teams in rounds 1 and 2 was pretty small, which made for really entertaining series, really great basketball. But then, ultimately the Heat didn't have much of an answer for the Nuggets' offensive efficiency really in any way, and they couldn't make enough 3-pointers to extend that series, and the series is over. But, it was it was a weird season that didn't really have a very good flow. I didn't think from beginning to end. I lost a decent amount of money betting the NBA in the regular season. I am barely green playoffs thanks to some chasey bets on some Game 6 and Game 7 unders. That was pretty clutch. Dug myself a little hole with some Grizzlies future or series prices against the Lakers. Got that back with Nuggets against the Suns, and then ultimately helped. Got the book green with the some Game 6, 7 unders. So
speaking of grab bag, every once in a while I go through my sheet and look at. I put a estimated date of grading when I put a future bet in. It's easy. You know when the Super Bowl is. You know when something. I get it pretty close, and then I sort that column by date, reverse date, and because I have a lot of futures. It's fun when you have one that's like, oh my god, this is like Justin Jefferson last year.
Yeah,
like fuck, he's gonna win. This is awesome. Like every day you're thinking about, when is that award handed out? Like, when am I getting my money?
Just that curiosity.
Will they cash it that night? When you have a loser, like it's just been dead forever, you don't even think about it. So you have to go in there and every once in a while, especially when a season's over, kind of clear that out. And speaking of grab bag, it was like the MyBookie, like spin special.
Oh yeah,
I had some rough NBA futures that cashed, and it was like Benfica for Champions League. They did not win.
No.
And then it was like the Hawks and somebody else. They were it was like playoff or at least play-in teams for the most part, but they were not good NBA futures. So I took I took a minus 100% ROI on the NBA Finals as far as futures go, because Hawks did not win.
Yeah, I missed the best of the prices on the Nuggets all the way down the stretch, so I never really had a big position on them. Even though, and I actually, you know what, I did lose money on the finals ultimately because I got my biggest bets that I put down were Nuggets sweep, and I feel a little cheated. Little bit.
That game that the Heat won was a perfect storm of a lot of things.
Yeah,
we won't get back into that, but
but it was a really entertaining season in my opinion. Like, the NBA is in a perfectly fine place, but it's in a really transition-y place as well. And the regular season was kind of marked by a lot of player rest, a lot of load management. That kind of reared its ugly head, but it was due because the previous season was entirely governed by fatigue. And for the compressed off season prior to last season, where they played the Olympics on top of not hardly any break between playoffs and the start of the season, like that really beat the players to a bloody pulp. So this season I think was a little bit of an uneven little bit of a reset there. Certainly there weren't very many teams that distinguished themselves in the regular season outside of the Nuggets. And some of the teams that you would think really kind of materialize as sort of the future contenders down, going forward, have some huge questions swirling around them. A lot of them. The Warriors, huge questions swirling around. The Lakers, huge questions swirling around. Suns, huge holes, huge pieces missing. All
Ja
in the
Morant,
Ja Morant, yes.
Just snap guess. What's your? I guessed 50.
30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's somebody had mentioned there's rules of if it's under this amount, then the appeal process.
They're going to go under that amount, whatever that number is. They're going to go a couple games under it. That'd be my guess. Yeah.
I don't. It depends. The one thing that did kind of strike me
process
is,
from what I've
heard.
The
one thing that struck me is basically Silver saying, "Hey, there's a." He made it sound like, "Hey, there's a bunch of stuff that's not even public yet."
I've heard that independently. After the original incident that he got suspended for, they basically there was a lot of buzz behind the scenes of, those incidents were there was key,
more to it.
There was key factual information that was left out of a lot of those stories.
If some of that stuff is overblown and innocuous, I think I'd lean towards what you said. Whatever that threshold is, they'll just stay under it to avoid it. But if this shit is oh my God, this is much worse than we ever thought, I guess. Wouldn't surprise me if you saw 50 to a season.
Well,
what if it's real? What if it's real fucking heinous shit?
Well, that's just it. I don't think they want to. Well, the current thing is not a big deal, and Not a big
You
deal.
should be able to you should be able to wave a gun around on Instagram. I guess it's like your Instagram, do what you want. Like,
I'm not the social media police.
Firearms. Yeah,
I
would never go take my deer rifle out and shake it on live.
Yeah,
That's the
issue is the NBA went super duper light on him relative to the actual facts and kind of covered up a lot in the first suspension. So you can't necessarily now punish him aggressively for stuff that you don't really want to become public. So they're going to stay under whatever. Anyway, this is all speculative. John Moran is in a weird place. He needs to find some new friends, but we'll see what he does.
It's like me,
we're naming the big contenders in the West who all have huge questions about personnel and future of the franchise. You could see true anchors like Draymond Green leave the Warriors. LeBron leave the Lakers. You could see
Rudy Gobert just retire because he's washed.
Well, Timberwolves could move Cat. There's going to be some incredibly well-known names on the move from franchises this offseason, and it's going to be really tough to wrap your head around the realignment of sort of star power in the NBA. And star power is weaker than it's ever been, just in terms of what it means for winning. Team, just because the space between the really outstanding players and the rest of the really good players is narrower because of age and regression and all that stuff. So,
sure.
And then the Eastern Conference, Celtics certainly they were the best team in the regular season in the Eastern Conference by a lot. I thought numbers would say so. And then to underachieve the way they did against the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals has people thinking that they're going to make some major changes to that roster. Sticking with the coach though, like this.
Yeah, that seems again. I'm not the smartest NBA person, but it feels like just from all the stuff from everyone I trust who is smart about the NBA, the roster was not the problem.
No, and certainly not the top best two players on the roster, other than the fact that there's a fair criticism about Tatum and Jaylen Brown and their just general basketball IQ. I don't really get it. They're not that young. They've got a lot of reps. They played a lot of professional basketball. They played a lot of professional basketball together. This core has played together for a long time, but it does feel like they are lacking a little bit of, kind of the basketball smarts that can take them to the championship level, which is
I don't know if
tricky.
you mentioned it either, but
Dame, he's a huge moving part.
Man. Not only
top
Dame,
10
but
player.
Not only Dame, but the fourth pick. There's a lot.
Yeah, the third pick, fourth pick, all that. Yeah. We get to see Wimby this year for the first time. That's going to be exciting.
Just to be clear, he's not going to. It's 100%. This feels like the stupidest fucking question, but he's just going to come play, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just remember the Rubio thing where it's hey, we got this cool international player. He might come play in a couple of years.
No.
That's just not a thing anymore, right?
He'll suit up game one. Yeah, I think so. I have high expectations for what he'll do next season because of the way his game translates to the NBA is going to be
that was the only MVP bet that got me excited.
130 to 1
big number.
It's a big number. Yeah, it's a big number.
I've
heard of crazier things. He's going to play 70 games. Well, he's only maybe probably will. Anyway, the other teams in the East. I mean, it seems like we've probably seen the end of this iteration of the Bucks. No one really wants to play with Giannis for whatever reason, and Middleton is on the decline. Jrue Holiday, I don't know if is enough to support Giannis to a championship type of run. Similarly, the Sixers feel like they're about to get blown up. At least Harden looks like he's on his way out the door, and a lot of questionable pieces around there. So there's basically everything about this season, all the lessons you could learn and take away from these teams. You're gonna have to reset it all in 2 months, because we're just gonna kind of do the shake her up and here's all the pieces out on the table again and new uniforms, and it's gonna be wild to.
I have that email. I have that tweet. I just retweet myself every summer during free agency. It's hey, what if all the NBA players just switch teams? Because, NFL is king and NFL is God, and especially in these parts, we pray to the gods of the NFL, but boy, the NBA offseason and the NBA content machine and just NBA on social media they're still so good. There's so much stuff going on all the time. I mean, we were just talking about, a player who might not even play next year because of his Instagram. Like, shit's always popping in the NBA.
Yeah, it's true. Never sleeps. Okay, so I have to absolutely, I guess, lessons learned some more from this year. For predictive purposes, Darko continues to be the absolute gold standard for player level ratings. I know that a lot of people in sort of the analytics community and at least the voting block for NBA awards tend to gravitate towards EPM. Fine. It's not that different, at least in terms of just directional kind of what you do with it. But I like Darko the best still. And we'll kind of go to war with that as my kind of underlying metric framework.
I enjoy seeing the charts.
Yeah, the charts are good.
It's good data viz. I appreciate good data viz.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of bad data viz out there.
Yeah. And I guess like for regular season betting, I need to be more granular about rest and fatigue and stuff. If we're going to get another season like we had this year, where load management was so it was so player specific this year in terms of like teams that were in difficult stretches of their seasons and who was playing and available. Really did impact a lot of sort of game by game betting over the balance of the season. I would say then the playoff lessons learned, man, the gold stuff, like the true blue angles, are still so freaking valuable. There's 3 levels of bets to be made in NBA playoffs, right? There's the ones that are like, I think this is an edge because I have a rating that's different than the market on this team versus their opponent because of this matchup, because of this, I think this is an edge. I think this series price should be minus 200 and it's minus 130. There's those kind of bets. There's I don't have anything for this game, so I'm going to flip a coin. Looks like we're playing the over. And then there's like the absolute stone cold nuts. And I just need to better kind of categorize things in my mind and stake accordingly next year, because goddamn, like it was so clear this year. And certain kind of underlying fundamentals, a lot of which we talked about with Shipper, by the way. That was a good podcast. We should don't need to replay that one in the current.
He did it. Yeah, and he did a great job of mapping out how the life cycle is the wrong word for it, but the general flow of a series.
Sure.
Based on and it's funny how it seems like even before a series, some smart people are able to just kind of predict how a series is going to go.
Yeah.
And it almost bothers me that's like those are the exact adjustments those coaches made. Yeah, and that seems bad that if you're that predictable and now you're out of the playoffs.
I will also say that I need to be, as we get to the finals, I need to be less concerned about price when you have like real deal edge on the favorite. 2 years in a row now, there's been an easy path to the finals for one team and a hard path for the other. And I mean, my God, like Jimmy Butler, credit to him for even going out there in the 5th game. But like, he was dead. He's gassed. I don't think he really was that hurt as much as he was just completely out of gas. And really for the entire finals, he was out of gas. Schedule, the extended rest didn't matter. It's just like these guys were just broken. And if you're carrying the offensive load to the degree that he was for that team for as many games, as many hard series as he was, like the Heat were drawn dead before they even tipped game 1.
Yeah. And it's funny too. Like I think a lot of times the way we think about fatigue, and this is insulting to all athletes, but we're thinking about these players in whatever sport like racehorses, just like, they're tired or they train too much. We are people and they are people. And like, have you ever had that where you have some huge project at work and your kids have like events, or you have like a family get together that's stressing you out, or there's a vacation and then something breaks in your house. And like at the end of the week, you are so tired. And it has nothing to do with the physical exertion that you put out there. It's like a mental fucking exhaustion. And, on top of all the physical exertion that these guys go out there and give on the daily, like the playoffs are forever. It's like 2 months long. Like you have to be mentally just exhausted at the end of a run like the Heat had. So and Sam Lipscomb, who is always a good asker of questions, says, is there anything to be learned from the Heat? Or is it a total outlier? Probably some lessons, but
two things.
Like, sometimes a star is very important.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you have the best player in the series, you have a fighting chance. Doesn't matter if you're the 8th seed or the 1 seed. Yeah. And that was what Butler was for 3 rounds. Yeah. And the signs were also there for Butler in terms of like starting to leak oil the deeper you went into that Celtics series, right? Like could have looked back on that a little bit.
Game 7, man.
Yeah, same.
I had him buried.
Yeah, same. And so, I think realistically, it's just a matter of recognizing, and I don't think during the play, like obviously, like no one put me in a time machine with this information. I'm not going to look at the Bucks Heat pre-series and tell you that, well, yeah, the best player is Jimmy Butler, so the Heat have a chance. No. Like, no way. Like, he played the best in that series, but pre-series, you would have said Giannis, clearly. You might have even said Giannis and Drew Holiday were the 2 best players in that series, I think, by a lot of metrics. So it's, I think it's a little hindsight bias to say best player matters, but that was sort of my only takeaway there. And also in general.
You said it good, though. It matters, but it's one of those things where, like you said, you have a chance. If you have the best player, or possibly like his ceiling is to be the best player in that series, you absolutely have a chance.
Sure. And I guess the more that's somewhat of a low hanging fruit observation, I guess, and I don't even know if it's really how accurate that is. I think more valuable observation about the Heat is they brought experience. In terms of coach and what he had in the roster and some of those guys playing together and knowing their roles and responsibilities, being a little bit of a unique team to play against in terms of the way they defend, that mattered. That made it tough for people. And they knew exactly what they wanted to do to try to beat the Bucks and the Celtics. The familiarity was 100% there, which means even if you had a perfect talent score, for the exactly correct talent score for how many minutes you were going to get from every player for the whole series and how they were going to perform, you still were going to be too far apart between the Bucks and the Heat in terms of a rating, because the familiarity was going to narrow the gap. Similarly with the Celtics, familiarity, I thought, narrowed the gap, certainly. Spoelstra got a lot more credit than he deserved, I thought, for this exactly what he did during the playoffs. So maybe next year, if they're up against, Heat are up against a lesser opponent they don't know as well, and people are just kind of assuming that, well, yeah, I mean, you remember what the Heat did last year, and Spoelstra's a better coach, like they're just going to beat blank. Like there's possibility you're going to get an overstated, an overrated Heat team in the playoffs next year if they're not playing the Celtics or the Bucks or a team that they were familiar with. So I don't know. I hope that all kind of checks out and makes sense. And all I'm hearing is Magic division next season. That's not bad. That's not a bad point either. Not a bad the Magic should have been right in the thick of it this season. If they hadn't dumped 11 of their first 12, 14 games, that team was good enough to be in the mix this year for the terrible Southeast. Hawks are going to be better next year too, probably, particularly if they move off of Trae Young. We'll see what they do. Anyway.
And then, Holt, this has been the fun part about like just watching people argue. I love watching people argue. This is a fun time for the NFL too, is like, because hope springs eternal every year when you're sitting in June and July. and everybody thinks like, oh my God, Justin Fields is going to turn the corner. And oh my God, if we get Hopkins, we're winning our division. Doesn't matter who's in it. Like just everything's so duckies and buddies. I love watching people argue on Twitter. I try not to get sucked into those because you can't argue with fans. Like there's no point. It's not any fun unless you just want to troll. But the Nuggets easy path for sure was a thing. It wasn't like, they just rolled over a bunch of shitty teams. It's not super possible. Like they were, short favorites. I'll pick them at some places to the Suns, but like they kept.
No, they were dogs. They were dogs to the Suns.
It depends. I feel like there were some places that had it like pretty much even. I'll defer to you.
I got full size stakes at Chris at like plus 120 for that series. So
we should go with that. Well, close enough.
Close enough. Whatever. Yeah.
Let's say it was.
They were home dogs.
Close-ish. Not a big dog, but no. I mean, obviously playing an 8 seed in the finals that is just gassed from playing a 7-game series with essentially the best team in the league. Yeah, that's awesome. But all you can do is, play who's in front of you, and such as the, when you have those rings forever, I don't give a shit who you beat.
Yeah,
it doesn't, and that's the dumb part. It's like it doesn't make it a Mickey Mouse ring. It doesn't make it a. The only thing that can make it a Mickey Mouse ring is if you play in the bubble, and that's different.
No, it's embarrassing lowest common denominator commentary. Anyone who's saying that sort of stuff, that playing in the bubble was pretty Mickey Mouse, I guess.
That was a whole different kind of fucking.
That was
thing.
a whole different thing.
No,
that commentary is still stupid. Yes, it's so stupid.
Clearly the best team in the West, and I guess I would love to see a better coach Celtics team. Better prepared and obviously better execution. Okay. I would love to see that matchup. Although, I mean, just because I'm a jerk, I do like Boston losing. Like the Bruins and the Celtics being so
I
good.
honestly have no answers for Boston. If they were like, look, man, we'll give you. We decided you're the guy that has the opinion that's going to help save the frame. I don't know. I don't know what you do. You can't sell on either of the assets you have, but you need something to. You need somebody smart with those guys, or you need a smart, coach basketball mind to help develop those guys. Because there's just a little bit underwhelming, kind of just mental toughness there. Anyway, the other kind of major takeaways that I regret not having much bigger positions on the Nuggets to win everything was like the entire final frame of the regular season. Like everything broke their way. Everything. Like it was all very clearly there. We were talking about it. We were saying it like, man. I
think the biggest concern was we weren't 100% convinced they had we like the coach, but it wasn't.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't like, oh, we're going to rely on this guy to be great in the playoffs. And the bench was really shitty. It's like if they have to rely on bench minutes, can they get in trouble in a series with, the Suns, even with the Lakers? Like there were still concerns.
Yeah, but at the same time, like the prices that you had access to were good enough that you could have really, you really could have taken some swings and. They ended up on the better side of the bracket. All they had to do was go through the Suns, who they matched up well against. They didn't have to go. They were only going to have to play one of the Lakers, Grizzlies, Warriors because of those teams getting out of the 8 seed. So many things worked in their favor. The East was always going to be more of a dogfight, and whoever emerged was going to be exhausted. It didn't matter if it was the Celtics, Heat, or Sixers. There was going to be fatigue set in on that team, and so they come through clean and they get a championship, and it was well deserved. They were the best team. Their entire team, if that Darko chart that is pretty explanatory in my opinion, is just looking at the best 4 players in their career trajectories for the Nuggets. Like they're all peaking. Like they're not peaking even, but they're all on the come up.
Yeah, we're not seeing a big
no one's regressed from where they were a year ago, 2 years ago, any of that. Like they're all on the come up. And that makes them a scary out for next season, surely. But presumably there's going to be realignment that makes their path a little bit tougher in the West. And they were pretty healthy and lucky in that regard, especially with a player in Murray coming off a knee and a player in Porter coming off a back. So who knows if those guys will be as healthy next year.
Speaking of Instagram, Murray, I will say Murray is much better at Instagram than John Morant.
Yeah, clearly, obviously better.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Some real quick NFL bounce before we go to tennis. I think Charles.
Yeah,
saw.
sure.
What do you make of the Diggs situation? Man, I am so lost in what happened there. Like, it's just, hey, let's have like the next 10 pieces of news that come out about that and all conflict each other. Like, hey, he's not at camp and I'm very concerned, says head coach. And then he's back the next day. All is fine. And then later it's like, well, we're working things out. We're keeping it in-house. There's still issues. He has the cryptic Instagram posts. They canceled mini camp now. They cut it a day short. Says we're done. Like, I don't know. Wide receivers are just a pain in the ass, man. Having a good wide receiver just turns them into a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I'm trying to Megatron was great. You know, obviously there's some guys that are
Jerry Rice,
the exception to the rule.
But I met Jerry Rice, by the way. Incredible human being. Super fucking nice.
It's few and far between where star receivers aren't a pain in the ass anymore. I have this might come across. I guess Florio can sue me for slander. I don't actually believe this report about an NFL player losing $8 million gambling. I clicked on Florio's blurb. It was like 200 words that I felt like were basically a way for him to mention his book and have a link to the Amazon click. He's like, my dad was a bookie, and that was what was based on the character in this book that you should click on this. It was the only link in the article was to the goddamn book. So I'm like, was this even a real fucking report, or are you just horse shitting me, Florida? Which I don't think he would actually do that, but I'm sure he wouldn't. You know, if he was fed bad information, it wouldn't. At that point, you can just be like, well, I heard it from a source. At that point, it's out of your hands.
Yeah. Patrick brings up a good point, which I've had in the back of my mind with all the Diggs stuff, which is this is weirdly deja vu all over again. Antonio Brown on the Raiders type of stuff.
Well, and Diggs didn't have a very it was acrimonious there at the end with the Minnesota Vikings. Like, that was the funniest part. It's
true.
Like Vikings fans taking victory laps. It's like, this is so sad. What we have, we don't have any Super Bowls. We don't have any like trophies to celebrate. We have like, well, he's doing it to you guys too, so that's a win, which is pretty funny. I'm on the lookout for stories about
Diggs crypto freezing his feet in training camp this year. That's going to be that'll be spooky.
Do you remember that Antonio Brown that week? It felt like there was a whole. Do
you even remember a handful of what happened? Like the helmet thing?
He wouldn't wear the helmet.
He had
the old helmet, and he liked his old helmet. And they said, you can't do that. So he said, okay. And then the next day he tried to just sneak it in. And then he got his feet frozen and they were injured, so he couldn't play. And then he got in arguments with like coaches and shit. That was a whole ordeal, which apparently that was a pretty clear red flag, because it's not like things got better from there.
No.
And we don't want to joke too much about someone's mental health. Hopefully he's like okay, but boy, it doesn't seem like it. Hopefully he finds somebody to like sort his life out a little.
Yeah.
Fuck it, he's got the money. He'll be all right.
And hopefully that's not even what Diggs is
going
through either. Yeah.
Well, hopefully they just sort it out, because I like the Bills. But truth be told, it's not a very good wide receiver room without Diggs.
No.
That's always the knock. It's like they don't have a very good second receiver. And man, can you imagine if I'm not a huge DeAndre Hopkins guy at this point in his career. He's 31. We didn't get to see a lot of his, play because he had to sit out for PEDs. Obviously, he's not on the PEDs that he needed for some reason. So if there's a drop off because of that, wouldn't be surprising. So like, I don't think that's some huge move that's going to like fix a team, but it's still a good receiver. So if he signs somewhere and then Diggs freaks out and says, I'm done with the Bills, shit can get weird. You have a top 3 quarterback and you're calling Cole Beasley again.
Yeah, I don't think you can expect Josh Allen to elevate the players around him in the way that Pat Mahomes did with in the absence of Tyreek Hill. I think that's a fair expectation. And the AFC East on paper looks a lot tougher than what we know last year's AFC West was. So yes, it could be pretty dicey if that unravels in any way, and they don't have the wide receivers.
Do you have any updated NBA draft takes? I know we had some movement on one of the markets today. I mean, a few places, but
the guy we previewed last week that got a little bit down on Kobe to the under was a decent bet. That moved pretty aggressively. I think he goes top 12. I think in general, there's a handful of buzzy players who are clearly rising and a handful that are clearly falling. Thompson's falling. Whitmore rising. Walker rising. Kobe rising. Bilal rising. Yeah. I mean, and I haven't bet very much at all, though, because there's just like pathetic liquidity offshore.
Markets, yeah.
Pathetic liquidity offshore. So not really. I haven't really put down the homework because there hasn't been a good reason to. I had plenty of other stuff though.
Showed up to training camp in a hot air balloon.
Yeah. All right. So a couple. Do we have any other closing thoughts?
No, let's talk about Joker winning, Ego winning, and how we're moving into grass season. Like we're in grass season. This shit just it's a hard transition.
Dude, it's not even hard. It's just a delightful transition.
It's just overnight too.
It's like a different game. Like
it is a different sport.
You're like, I was just watching. Like, what am I watching now? Like, this shit is supercharged. Serve and return, serve and volley. Like, bang, 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 bang. Points are flying. Like, tie break. We're already in a tie break. Like, what is happening? Like, it took Djokovic and
I prefer clay tennis. It's my favorite surface. It's the one. I like watching.
Chess,
long point construction. Long volleys. Just guys being able to grind it out. But that isn't to say I don't enjoy grass. And just what you said. It's like it is just a sudden change of pace. It's a much faster sport. Or obviously the surface is super quick, and it's fun to see. I think that's where a lot of guys who bet tennis and do well derive some edges. And, just you noops and other people I talk to on the regular who bet tennis, a lot of it is just, hey, this is price strong based on we're moving surfaces. And this person, there's people that track that sort of stuff. Present company included on how players do when they switch surfaces back and forth over the course of the season. So it's, and there are some guys who they go find like Casper Ruud. Yeah. Go find some, clay tournaments to play because they're still scattered up. They're still a little here and they're scattered.
Yeah, there'll be a couple next week. I love it. It's refreshing. It took an hour and 20 minutes in the men's final to get to a tie break between Djokovic and Ruud, and I think I saw one grass match already where it took 30 to get to the tie break. It was just like, holy shit, this is wild. And the grass tournaments are fun. It's short. It's a great run up to Wimbledon, which starts July 3rd, I believe.
They don't give a shit about our holiday.
The main draw starts July 3rd. I think the last week of June is.
What's nice is the first two first 2 days of Wimbledon, essentially the first round, like none of us are working.
No,
we have that. It's for golf. It's the John Deere week.
Sure,
that's not a tournament I'm super worried about. Like, it's gonna be a fun couple days of just sitting there watching Wimbledon.
Yeah, and everybody who got their rocks off complaining about the broadcast availability of some of the tennis matches on clay, like, guess what? ESPN Plus has the grass. You can watch them anywhere you want, whenever you want.
It is wild too, like how I don't know, like ESPN has not done a lot right in my eyes.
Sure.
Over the past, I don't know, maybe Dan can correct me how far back I should go. I'm not even getting into scandals and like just being a bad workplace, but like basically SportsCenter was the best thing ever to come around for young us. And then it's like just like they haven't done anything really well for a long time. But the fact that they put together the ESPN Plus stuff is just so nice for watching stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Watch it when they have the golf coverage and it's like here's 4 different feeds you can get here, tennis, all the different feeds, things like that. So
the tentpole stuff was mismanaged, but the
production quality was always good. especially for the years you were there, Dan.
Yeah, no, the tentpole stuff was mismanaged. Monday Night Football comes to mind. But yeah, the availability of tennis and golf is at your fingertips is amazing. And I have Tennis Channel Plus for the French Open, and I got to watch everything I wanted to watch. The only kind of bit gripe I had was the delay from Flash Score at times was like 5 minutes. Boy, how is this possible?
If you have a sports book or Flash Score open, it's bad with some of those services. YouTube TV is pretty slow with a lot of sports. ESPN's been great.
5-minute delay though? 5 minutes?
Yeah,
how is that possible?
That's bad because like ESPN Plus is very quick. Anything I've watched on Peacock has been pretty quick. Like most of the ones who do sports, they at least get that part right, where it's not a massive delay. But you're right.
A tip for those of you who couldn't find it but were betting aggressively and or cared about tennis. Radio Roland Garros was the unlock the cheat code, because that, believe it or not, Andy, the live broadcast on Radio Roland Garros, number one, is entertaining as shit. Like the personalities that they have on there and just their banter is just top notch. Number two, they'll tell you stuff that you can't hear otherwise, because the video broadcast, they tend to just let the sounds of the game do most of the narration, and then they chime in at the points and the end of the point and the changeovers and stuff. Well, they got to give it all to you during the radio broadcast, so you get a lot more. And when they get really amped up, okay, in 5 minutes I'm going to be watching my Tennis Channel feed and I'm going to see a really cool point. Yeah. It's coming. But the final point about Radio Roland Garros, it was ahead of Flash Score. I was hearing point and game calls, and then Flash Score was behind. It was ahead of Bet365 Live, Bovada's Live. I was like, this is amazing. Incredible.
It's the old technology that's always the best. It's the radio.
The radio. It was amazing. Anyway, I'm going to tune in for Radio Wimbledon too, because that's, even though you have all the ESPN Pluses to watch. Actual kind of commentary on the state of tennis. What a tournament from an outcome standpoint. Djokovic winning was big for me. It was big.
The only disappointing thing was the Alcaraz cramps.
Yeah,
we got cheated out of. I mean, just if we could have got 5 sets of what we got in the first couple.
Did you watch the first two?
Yeah.
Okay, give me your take on what you saw.
I think he could have beat Joker that day.
That day.
Okay.
Okay. Quality of tennis was good.
Joker, high quality tennis, obviously, until he started to break down a little bit. And Joker is, like you mentioned, it's hard to read him. It's like, oh no, because at first I legitimately thought there was a point where I'm like, Joker's gonna break down here. He looks kind of done with the wrist and everything, and he might just lose this match badly. And then he cranks it up because it's like, oh yeah, he's been pulling this fucking trick on me for a million years.
Are you talking about in the final or against Alcaraz?
No, Alcaraz.
Oh, really? Okay. So I didn't get that read at all in the Alcaraz match. No. It
wasn't long lived.
No, it wasn't. I thought in the Alcaraz match, I thought set one, I thought Joker was cool, crisp, calculated, was determined to like take his chances when he needed to. Like he was playing closer to the lines, he was shots, he was going for the corners, he was hitting it to the baseline.
Yeah, and that's why I said
he was going for his shots more. He's taking more chances
that day. I didn't say he should have or was
no.
Going
I
to.
think
I think we were destined
you just tell me if
match.
you disagree with any of my read here. So I thought set one, Joker was dialed. He was taking chances. He was playing precision tennis and really hitting some amazing shots. Alcaraz was amped. I thought Alcaraz showed up and was like, "This is the biggest match of my life." He had that kind of feeling to him, and of course he is. Like it was the biggest match of his life. We all know that. We've been looking forward to this for like 2 years. The pomp and circumstance and setting was obviously going to affect him more than it was going to affect Djokovic, and so the nerves were high. He made some bad mistakes in that first set. He could not to capitalize on the chances he had to level it late, and Joker coming through 6-3 I thought was worthy score and entirely give that almost entirely to experience. Like Joker had a 1-0 head start in that match because of the experience. In the second set,
Fair.
I thought Joker, he did have some moments where he didn't look great. You know, he throttled down. Okay. He was literally like, okay, I'm going to throttle down, but I'm going to make sure Alcaraz plays deeper into these points and really has to kind of go to his like highest level to win this set.
First, he takes your legs.
Yes.
No, and it's true, and that's why that's what I'm
Yeah.
referring to him tricking me, because he always does that where it's like, oh man, is he not looking as sharp right now? And then it's like, oh, he's just like it's when a tennis player plays possum or just like punts on a set, you can tell. With Joker, it's like he's punting on the set, but he still might win it. Like he still might just win it because he's not punting far enough. And and that's right. I did feel like Alcaraz had a chance. I mean, signed collectibles, you're right. He should have been up 2 sets done. He was the better player. He should have, he was the better player. He is the better player, but I still think Alcaraz had a shot at it. And, I've never heard of like cramps from nerves, but I mean,
sure. Oh yeah. Cramping can be mental stress can absolutely lead to cramping. No question.
I mean, you hit it on the head though too. He was just like crazed, Like you can tell, like fucking eyes were spinning. And
Djokovic, I thought, brought it on. I literally think he throttled down in the second set. He was comfortable losing that set if it meant the exchange was he pushed Alcaraz to kind of go to where his adrenaline was just pumping out of his ears. Right, like he literally pushed him to his limit. Not allowing the break when he was down 0-40 for the set, and then making him break, at 7-5. And again was, I don't think it was strategic. I don't think he was like giving away the set, but he was basically like, if you win this set, I'm going to make sure you physically pay for it. And sure enough, bang, right at the start of the third, it all came due.
He had a service game there. He had a service game in there in the second set where I'd changed my mind completely. Where I was like, "Oh no, now he's going to win this set." Then just like truck the match. Yeah, and obviously it went the way it went, but I still think I would have liked to see like. I think your average result, even if he does go up 2-0, I think you end up with a semi-competitive four set match, and that's what I wanted. So I didn't want the result we got, and I don't know, the final was fine.
Yeah, I mean, the final, I thought Djokovic was less, he's less dialed in, less to start. Yeah, he was basically like, okay, then, he was the more uncomfortable player. But, as soon as he got to the tiebreak, he was like, okay, I'm going to stop making errors now. And then it was over. Ruud really didn't recover well in the second set. And then it down 0-2. He was like, oh, here we go all over again. Although I will give Ruud credit for this, Andy. Last year when Ruud played Nadal in the finals, he literally went on center court and peed his pants. It was a very, very, very tough watch. This year, and by the way, Netflix happened to be there filming behind the scenes, and you got to see him behind the scenes in the tunnel, like literally trembling, like, there's my hero, Rafa Nadal. I'm gonna go play him for the French Open title. And you're like, oh, that's why he completely shat himself. I get it now. And I thought he acquitted himself a little bit more professionally this time. So congratulations on taking a step forward. And honestly, if there's some season comes through where Alcaraz isn't as sharp because of an injury and Djokovic is retired, Ruud could win a French Open. For sure. Third time might be the charm for him. But I don't think he's going to need the same sort of fortuitousness that afforded him the trip to the finals this year, which is that he really got to play. He got to play a gassed Rune. He got to play, happy to be there Zverev. And then, the Rune
match too. The Rune match, I wish that would have been a little better.
That was
rough. I was pretty jacked for that one. I know
wheels came off Rune.
That'd have been nice.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Ruud kind of did have the Denver Nuggets path, didn't he?
Yeah, it was
without the benefit of playing the Heat. Who would have been the Heat?
Which is the Heat would have, just like that situation would have arisen if Alcaraz doesn't get cramps, right? Or if Alcaraz gets those kind of cramps, but it's in the 5-5 tie, fifth set tiebreak, and Alcaraz comes through, but it's by the skin of his teeth, and then he can barely physically move. in the final against Rude, Rude might have won, right?
I don't hate.
Like,
I don't hate
that's
making
possible.
Alcaraz Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. No. Okay. So anyway, I think we're probably going to get another Alcaraz Djokovic in Wimbledon. I think.
What's your price on that on grass? If that's
So
your
that's
final.
so this is where it gets interesting. So Alcaraz still a long way to go to get up to the quality of play we see from him on clay on grass, right? He just doesn't have the reps. It's going to take a while. It could happen here though, because he's going to be the 1 seed, right? They got, I don't know if you know this, so I was doing a little bit of prep and research for Wimbledon because the prices, limits came up on some of those outrights. And they got rid of the weird seating. Did you remember this? I'd forgotten this. They used to have a specific grass rating seating for Wimbledon, which made it would push Federer up into the 1 seed if he was the 3, right? And they've gotten rid of that for whatever reason. I think 2020 they didn't play. 2021 was the first year that they didn't have that seating system.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we pretty much know it's going to be Alcaraz the 1 seed, Joker the 2 seed, and Medvedev the 3. I think that's pretty set in stone. So Alcaraz Djokovic could only happen in the Wimbledon final. But I think it's possible because Alcaraz with the 1 seed is going to have a soft path. And really, there's nobody good on grass besides Djokovic. So it's possible we could see that. Now, if it gets there, are we going to get Alcaraz minus 200, Djokovic plus 170? No fucking way.
No
fucking
way.
Probably
Flip those.
I probably more.
Probably even more.
Yeah,
minus
probably
300?
more aggressive. Yeah, minus 250, minus 200. Yeah. It's going to be pretty prohibitively Djokovic the favorite.
Signed Collectible says yes. Signed Collectible.
Oh, Joker is the 1 seed? Is he saying that grass formula is back? Because I thought that the seating was set. Maybe he's right.
I know they're going to let. Are they letting people wear dark underwear yet?
Well, Djokovic. I think the women are allowed to. There was a lawsuit about that. Let me see here. I'll trust. Signed Collectibles would know. Yeah, Signed Collectibles would know. So we'll take his word for it. But whatever the case is, they can only meet in the final. Joker is one in the world, though. Yeah, it's winning Australian Open and winning the French Open.
Winning two slams is that helps.
And skipping every other tournament except for Rome and Monte Carlo, playing 2 rounds in. Like, I guess that was enough. Anyway, I just haven't seen him play very much this year, and he's good enough to be world number 1. All right.
There's a lot of points that come out of winning a Grand Slam tournament.
Sure. Yeah. Alcaraz didn't even play an Australian Open, so he was missing a big chunk of points. And Medvedev didn't play in the second.
And that's
slam,
why he played.
So he's missing a big chunk of points. Yeah.
It's been a weird 3 years for that too, because the way the point system works and how people missed it. And how
nobody got points from Wimbledon last year.
Wimbledon didn't have points last year.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so they could meet in the final. I think it's possible. I don't think Alcaraz should be the second choice by the odds. I think it should probably be Medvedev. My case for Medvedev is pretty straightforward at price. I haven't made this a significant bet right now. You can get like 600 to win 5K ish on this at plus 750 on Medvedev, and I've been staring at it all day. Medvedev played a lot better on clay this year than we've ever seen him play before. So he's clearly at the stage where he's played enough tennis in his life that he's rounding out his skill set on the various surfaces, which to me was an obvious easy bet for him to win Ertagenbosch. I have some Medvedev to win Ertagenbosch at plus 240. And I think he's going to be able to put a grass title on his resume this year. What was especially, kind of defining for why I made that bet for Medvedev to win Ertagenbosch? It's because he's never won here before.
He's never won it. You know what he doesn't do? He
will not win a title in the city where he's won a title before.
He's the guy who goes to his local, this restaurant. I'm never ordering the same thing twice.
Exactly.
Yes, he will not. How many is it? 20?
20. He has 20 titles in 20 cities. Unbelievable.
Nobody knows this. He has
unbelievable.
He's not won the same tournament twice, but somehow has 20 different tournament wins. Just
mind blowing.
It's a really weird. Yeah, it's a really weird.
It's one of the most bizarre.
It's
one of the most bizarre idiosyncrasies in all of sports right now. Currently, that streak.
They play more events than golf, but can you imagine that? Like a guy winning 20 golf tournaments and just like he's never repeated though.
Yeah. No, it's especially weird in tennis because like the course and the conditions and the surface, all of that stuff matters so much more in tennis. I feel like, I don't know, they're putting 4 good rounds of golf together anyway. So I think he takes the grass title this week in the Netherlands. I think he's probably going to make a deep run at Wimbledon just based on what we've seen from him improving on clay this year. I think that helps him improve on grass. And in general, his skill set is, he's just playing good tennis this year, I think. Been very impressed with him overall. And just does mental toughness, I think, to be a contender. So if it gets to a point where he has his best stuff and something happens to Djokovic, or Djokovic just isn't up for it, that day he plays Medvedev, which he doesn't have the mental angle over Medvedev that he does over the rest of the players. Medvedev beat him head-to-head at the U.S. Open. Lest we forget that happened in a slam final. One of the younger players, got the better of the mental master. So yeah, I think Medvedev could, he's live. I think 750 is a good price. I don't think there's really anyone else in the men's field besides Djokovic, Medvedev, and maybe Alcaraz who could win. And so I kind of stopped there. Andy Murray interests me a little bit. I'd love to see where he falls in the draw. Do you think he could be a deep week 2 player? Yeah, you think he can win a quarter?
If he gets right? The thing is, his price is just still like, I don't know how this has been a thing like for 10 years now. His prices still aren't great.
No, they never will be ever. Yeah, people know his name.
The dumbest thing.
Yeah, he'll be not in draws. And
that happens. He's like, oh, who's the 8th favorite? Yeah. Andy Murray is not even he's not even in the continent. Like, he's like hanging out with Judy.
Yeah. Andy Murray is plus 45 right now, which is kind of intriguing. But
don't bet that, please.
Waiting for a quarter, waiting for the draw,
quarter price or like level maybe in an advance. The beauty of this, and I say this a million times about every sport we ever talk about, but just like the options and the menus continue to just get better and better. I will say some of you shithead sport books have been a real shitheads about one-way markets. There's some real obscene. It was a couple people were going back and forth over some, just bad NFL one-way markets, and one of them was Jalen Hurts rushing plus passing yards combined, and it was 50. Will he have over 5,700 plus 100 one-way market? And like it was the record. Like it would have been, and yes, we have another game now, but like it's just obscene some of these one-way markets. That said, to my original point, the offerings and the menus are so much better now, and there's a lot of those where you can find like exact round that they're eliminated. Those are awful fun too. If you are good at predicting how some draws will go, if you're a good bracketologist.
Yeah. Other guys that are going to stand out on clay, surely circle Hubie Hurkacz. He was a disappointment in Wimbledon last year, cost me some serious coin. But he does have the grass game that he should be, draw afforded. He should be in your, quarterfinals, semifinals. Similarly, Taylor Fritz has the game for it. Yannick Sinner, Nick Kyrgios, Matteo Berrettini. What in the world is going on with him? He might be done. Yeah, he was incredible. Just really no show.
It was not that long ago.
Yeah. Marin Cilic is out of Wimbledon. He is still lined at Bookmaker, so they should probably take him down.
How old is he? Guess how old Marin Cilic is.
34. 36?
I was going to go 37.
36 is my guess.
34.
34. Damn, I should have stuck with my original guess. Anyway,
he looks like Connor Allen.
He was a French Open semifinalist last year. Weird, one of the weirder semifinalists we've ever seen. Because grass is obviously his thing, his bag. Clay is not. Anyway, I think Medvedev is a decent bet at plus 760 before he wins Ertagenbosch. We're not going to see Djokovic.
I say the S. And we'll have to defer to our friend, the food snob, or maybe some other year. But I just gently say it, Sertagenbosch. Like it's very subtle. It's there, but it's very subtle. Sertagenbosch.
Sertagenbosch. All right. Well, whatever the case is, I think he's going to win a title. I think his price is going to shorten. He may flip Alcaraz for second choice. He should, in my opinion. We'll see how it goes. If it is a final of Djokovic Alcaraz, that'll be fascinating though, because Alcaraz is going to figure it out on grass eventually. He's just too good of a player, and his team is too good around him. They're coaching him very, very well. He's developing very quickly, and he has a skill set where he should be ultimately be able to get good at it as he develops a feel. So eyes wide open on that. Women's side, the French Open. Talk about ending with a fizzle. Whew. Double fault from Karolina Mukova.
It's honestly like a baseball game ending on one of these time violations.
Yeah, pretty much.
Super anticlimactic.
Especially losing the last 3 games with the kind of meltdown that she had.
And the thing is, too, if you'd have said, "Hey, Andy, how do you go? Do you go Mukova?
It's Mukova, like Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts. So Mukova. Yeah. If you said, "Hey, Andy, Mukova made it to the final somehow, and she played Iga, and she double faulted on the final to lose it," like, oh man, like 6-4, 6-2 or what? Like it was a really good match actually. Like it surprised
right into the death. Yeah,
she played really well, and then it was a shitty way to end it, but good for Iga. She's good for Iga.
Yeah, three French Opens now. What's your number on Iga French Opens in her career? Over, under, what?
It's so hard to predict, injury and especially in women's tennis.
Sure, longevity is impossible.
Also predicting like what 10-year-old is currently hanging out in the Czech Republic that is going to like beat her in 4 years.
Czechia, yeah, no,
because there's just wave after wave of like
really good young players,
teenage Czech girls who just come into the WTA. It's like, holy shit, like. This kid's like a 9th grader. She's just fucking beating the shit out of middle of the pack WTA players with experience. So it's really tough to predict who's going to come up and be the next, oh yeah, there's the Andreevas and there's always going to be more. It's just wild how it's just a factory. It's like Texas for football quarterbacks, man. But I mean, 6. I feel like over the next 5 to 8 years,
if I hung 5.5, would you bet over?
Probably, just because I think it'd be a donkey to do it, but I'd do it anyway.
If I bet 6.5, would you bet under?
No, that's not a fun bet.
Okay, it's no fun. Okay, all right, fair enough. So it is 5.5, 6. Okay, all right. Well, everyone now awaits to see how she looks on grass. She's going to do some tune-up. Last year, she came into the grass season on another level relative to how she played on clay this year. So there's definitely some realistic expectation that she's got some. I think she was a bigger favorite for last year's Wimbledon than she is currently for this year's, just because of what we've seen from her and because the rest of the field seems to have narrowed the gap. Although I will say her hold percentage on clay throughout the season was better than last year. So she should have, if she carries that form into grass, she could win a grass title or 2.
Yeah, she was kind of fucking people up.
Yeah, for sure.
She wasn't on the court very long.
Right. The questions really swirl around the second choice right now and who it ought to be between Rybakina and Sabalenka. I guess give it to Rybakina because she's got the championship in her pocket. Sabalenka's meltdown against Mukova. Wow. Going to be a very long time before I have any confidence getting involved with Sabalenka to get over the high pressure moments. In the near future.
I kind of had that match won.
She had it. It was over. I think we were joking, and I said
minus. It was minus 4,000, man.
I think I was joking, and I said if you had offered me Mukova, 10,000 to 1, I probably would have been pass.
See if I got a 5 in my wallet.
It's over. And sure enough, she came back and won. But yes, very, very assisted by Sabalenka, which is kind of wild. third choice for Sabalenka is fine for me, but she should probably be on a little bit tier behind Iga and Rybakina. I would actually make Ons Jabeur third choice just because she's so good at grass. Obviously, you're not getting the prices we got last year where she was 33 to 1-ish at this time, which will go down as probably the most correct but not winning bet I've ever made in my life. And then this year she's 10 to 1-ish, and the players in front of her are a little bit better. Like there's, the Russians and Belarusians are not excluded from this tournament, which made a big difference. And there were injuries last year that mattered as well. So going to be tougher for Ons to repeat as a finalist here. Going to be extremely tough for her to get over the finish line, considering the mental damage that she's sustained. And honestly, her lack of, ability to close that second quarter over Beatriz Haddad Maia was a problem that didn't bode well for mental toughness, becoming, kind of a more cagey player, so to speak. So concerned about Ons, but I think she's probably going to be a bet the quarter winner price for me, depending on where she lands. Kvitova, you think you got a circle?
Do you think we get that draw on a Friday?
Thursday, probably.
If it starts Thursday, Friday, somewhere there.
I think last year it was on a Thursday. It might be a Friday. I think Kvitova, you got to circle just because she's got the goods on grass. In fact, she's going to be a bet for me when we see prices go up for Eastbourne. I think she could beat the likes of the Rybakinas in the world in that tournament. That's like her home. So keep an eye on Kvitova and how she progresses. Goff is a scratch. Pagula is a scratch. Sakari is a mega scratch. Bencic is a scratch. Pliskova scratch.
Mega scratch. We need to bring that into the parlance.
Oh yeah. Like what's the way to say it? With when you're extreme prejudice. You knew where I was going. You knew where I was going with it. Scratch with extreme prejudice. Caro Garcia scratch. Ostapenko scratch. Krejcikova scratch. Keys scratch. Mukova. Yeah, 12 to 1 though. Oh my god, that price.
Yeah, her price is fuck.
Yuck. Yeah, Badosa.
We see this, and we'll talk golf here soon because of this. But you see this in golf sometimes. It's like, oh no, like you did good a couple times, and maybe you overperformed, and now you're just unbettable because the market. Like sometimes the market is slow to someone. Sometimes the market is way too fast, and it's super annoying.
You want a fun bet and one to keep an eye on is Ludmila Samsonova. We didn't see her at Wimbledon last year because she's Russian. She didn't play. She burst onto the scene with her first ever title on grass in Berlin. She had an amazing run from qualifying all the way to the finals, beat Belinda Bencic when she was peaking. Bencic is a very good grass player. Samsonova has the skill set to excel on grass. I think she is going to be a sleeper for quarter winner. Maybe even more at Wimbledon. So I would circle
football content.
Circle a little Ludmila Samsonova. And I think Samsonova is going to win your women's Ertagenbosch, by the way. If you want a little fun bet there, she's like in the plus 275 range, about the same price as favorite Veronika Kudermetova. I like Samsonova better than Kuder on grass. And that's a fun one. All right, man. That's about all I got on tennis. Give me a little thought process on how your week has gone handicapping and betting the U.S. Open of golf.
And let's quick mention the sponsor Sporttrade is sponsoring today. The exchange.
Okay. I can't wait to hear this. Carry on.
All right, so I have an ad read, but you know how I am with these. I just interrupt myself as I go through them. 0 bet delays, huge limits, and fair cash outs. Because it's an exchange, there is not a delay like you get at some books because you're just buying somebody else's liquidity that it's been offered up. So I have been able to use the exchange a little. I posted about it on my Twitter. I approached it differently too, and I wonder how my betting would be different if I had exchanges constantly, if I'd always had an exchange, because I think we do some of this in the NFL, but we talk about this all the time of like, oh, but then we got to find our way out of this. Like, are we just taking this bet because we know the line will shorten? You got to find a way to, extract equity out of this. And I didn't approach it in the same way I did with my, my regular bets where I said these are guys I think they can win. I think the price is a little short. I think I get the best of the number, and I'm going to bet these guys to win this tournament. Whereas what I did over on Sporttrade was I took some guys where I thought the number was bad, but it's like, I don't know if this guy's going to win. Like, I don't think this is a cashier. Like, hey, this is 90-1, and I think he should be like a 50 or 60. And he's also some guys that I think can play well early. They can play well in the softer, easier conditions that we're going to see early on before they crank up the masochist meter here later in the tournament. So basically the plan is I'm a trader now. It's like that. It's a good segue from tennis because we know a lot of people who are over on that side of the pond who do some tennis trading. But yeah, that's you can check it out if you're in New Jersey or Colorado. Download it on the Apple Store. Coming soon to Google Play.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's it's different with golf.
How did you pull this off in Minnesota?
Just Sporttrade helped me out. Like it's essentially as part, as part of this.
You have a proxy trading for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I do that?
Well, maybe you can talk to him.
Okay.
Basically, as a way. Well, it makes it a little more authentic too. It's the same thing. You hear people say like, "Well, do we really think Shaq drives a Buick?" To be fair, that's not a good example. Shaq endorses everything. Maybe it's the perfect example, but it does make it a little more authentic if I'm actually able to use the product a little before I read it as an ad read. And I did like the the UI UX. Like it seemed pretty simple. It was interesting too because it was something I wasn't used to was you have to have the liquidity in the market at that price. So here's the best offer, but I try to buy too many shares of something. It's like, well, somebody's offering 400 shares at that price, but if you want 500 shares, this is your average price because there's not that much liquidity at that price. You get a slightly worse price. So I did learn a few things, but I'll be kind of tracking those the guys I added on Sporttrade a little differently. As I talked about it on Twitter, I said I am going to try to just cash all of them out eventually if they play good, or at least enough. Yeah, where I end up with a surplus, and then I'm going to buy some golfers that I think can win that maybe didn't play as well, and it'll keep me entertained.
It seems like a no-brainer way to bet golf.
It is a really good product for live betting, I think, in general. But golf, especially because live betting golf has more time. It's not the same as like, with the NBA, we got to wait for timeouts to really wait for the market to settle down or commercial breaks. With golf, it's a slower process, and live betting is 10 hours a day for 4 days. So should be interesting. I'll keep you updated on that. But if you want to check that out and you're in New Jersey or Colorado, link in the description, link in the show notes, link in the YouTube show notes. It'll get you there. I'm sure they have some sort of welcome for you if you check it out. So Sporttrade sponsors today. And the US Open, very interesting because as we often do on the PGA Tour, we have a course we haven't seen. We had it last week in a new addition to the Canadian Open, circulation, whatever you want to call it. We've had it in spots even like, God, what was it? Wells Fargo, where we're using Quail Hollow for the President's Cup. So guess what? We're playing at TBC Potomac. Hey, we're adding Mexico. You have to figure out this new course down here. Like it happens a lot in golf where you have to figure out a new course, but often in majors we run into this, obviously outside of Augusta. Mm-hmm. And they haven't played a tournament here for a while, man, since like the 40s. Wow. Fun fact from CBS's Tom Fernelli that I did not super fact check, but this is the course that the GTA 5 golf course is based off of, he thinks. And it checks out like from a cursory glance, but it is unique because it feels old, even though it's on the West Coast, and there's a lot of pain in the acidness to it. Like there's the really sloped fairways, like, hey, you hit the fairway, but it's going to roll down, and then you end up with a terrible blind shot into a green. There's a par 3 that could play at 80 yards where players have said if they play the pin that close, they'll have to lay up instead of going for the green because the landing area where they'd want to be on the green is so small at that point. There's a 290-yard par 3 where essentially you're probably going to have to try to get up and down for the most part. Hitting that green is going to be hard. There's the 6th hole is very, like we said, is very interesting. The 11th hole is pretty cool. It's a really, really cool course. I just have no idea. Like if the people who win it are in it are like 6 under on Sunday, wouldn't surprise me. But there's like 7 or 8 scoring holes. If played correctly, like somebody could win this at 14, 15 too. So I haven't run into a tournament like this for a while where I really have no idea what the scoring is going to look like. And then at the same time too, we have the reputation of the US Open that they kind of have to maintain.
Okay.
It's, they don't like the scoring to go too low. So if it becomes a problem early, you don't pay the water bill, I guess, that day. And we're just gonna make things harder. We'll roll the greens. We'll stop watering. We'll make it a lot less receptive. We'll make things a lot harder. So be interesting. Everybody's here. Obviously, Zal's out. Daniel Berger's still out. Tiger's not playing for a while, but essentially everybody else because the live guys who matter are automatic qualifiers or found their way in here too. So. Great field, great course. I'm excited. If you followed along with me and Noonan, I ended up betting Hovland, Finau, and Day for my fixed odds bets, I guess. And then in the exchange there, I took Cam Smith. I took Hideki at a big price. And then I took Wyndham Clark and Mito Pereira. Both of them are on 90-1. I think they can improve their odds tomorrow as well. The only thing, and this doesn't affect you as much, but I'm so used to the East Coast golf that we've had for a while now. And golf doesn't start till like 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm an early riser.
There's gonna be primetime finish here.
Yeah, I'm used to like showing up to work early on Thursday so I can just put golf on the TV and like kind of slowly ease myself into the day. But I might have to actually do some writing in the morning while waiting for golf to come on. Tinker with DFS. I'm probably going to enter more DFS this week because I'll have a few hours in the morning. I don't know. It's interesting too because Scotty Scheffler's playing the best golf possible, like better than some stretches of Tiger Woods, unless you count his putting. And it's weird because Ron pointed out earlier when we were talking, Ron Kloss works over at BetSports Golf too. It's not like the normal way that people struggle with putting. His lagged putting is very good. If he finds himself with a really long putt, he gets it really close, better than most, and then misses the 4-footers. It's a goofy thing. I don't know if it's something mental. You see that a lot with putting. So it's like if that suddenly sorts itself out, like he laps the field, I guess. But people on the ground have said, like, hey, it's same putter, same results. Because that was the big thing is he can switch putters, and the report on practice rounds was not looking that way. Rory is struggling with wedges. He has a lot of wedges in his bag apparently by the looks of it. We'll see how that goes. He's playing really good golf. There's so many guys that are just playing such incredible golf that I'm just hoping for a very good ending. It sucks. It's like the RBC Canadian Open is a shitty tournament. Like it's not even a good tournament, but I don't even know if we can top it. Like that was so amazing. I told Dan this too.
It was cool.
I just was screaming at the TV. I had no financial stake, and I still was just screaming the whole because it's just wild how halfway through you're like, man, that's gonna be close, and then 3/4 of the way through that putt, it's like fuck that could go honestly, and then once it gets close, like holy God damn, this is going to go in the hole. He's going to win the tournament on this. I'll go my entire life. I'll never make a putt half that long. I can't imagine making a putt of that length, much less doing it to win a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And being like, that guy's not buying he's never paying for Labatt's again.
Labatt's.
It's free beer forever.
Canada needed it after watching Vegas and Florida fight it out for a Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah, good for Canada. That was cool.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the primer. What's your prediction on final winning score? Over or under 8?
I mean, I'm going to go right at that 9. I think we do. I think we do see some good scores early on in the the Thursday, Friday, and then it ends up kind of falling off a little, and we end up with some tougher conditions where a guy might be 10 under going into the weekend, and then he wins the tournament with a 9.
Sure.
If we really crank things up.
So basically, you think of the day 1, day 2 leaders of the pack, somebody just holds on for dear life.
Yeah, it could be. It depends what the conditions look like. Weather is a non-issue. I don't have to tell you. It's pretty nice right now in California.
It's not going to rain.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just the wind. The wind is not really an issue out there. Century City.
It's pretty gloomy. Pretty gloomy. I had to go to Palm Springs last week to see the sun. I had to drive all the way out to the desert to get some sun last week, Andy. It improved my mood exponentially, though. I'll tell you that much.
I got some sun.
I saw your picture. I saw your picture online. That was rough. All right. One other bet that I made recently that I just want to air out, because once the Joker money hit the accounts, I was a little flush, and I was like, you know what? Let's fire on some futures. Let's fire on some stuff. So I had been kind of sitting on waiting for it to get involved in anything else out there, and so I just was cruising what's available, doing some homework. I'm kind of bought in now to Green Bay being the bet in the NFC North.
Awesome.
There's a lot of ways to do that. I got a little bit of LaFleur Coach of the Year, a little bit of Green Bay to win the North at like plus 450-ish. I think those are good bets. I think Green Bay looks good. They look real good on paper.
I've done a little bit, like I'm slowly doing it, and then I mentioned this I'm working on a newsletter, by the way, guys.
Ooh.
It's going out to small batches. You can't just fire off a newsletter to like 100,000 people at once. Google and like just email in general doesn't like that sort of thing. So you got to slowly ramp it up. I'll post a link in the Discord if you want to sign up early, but it's slowly going out to more people. But I mentioned that like I just want to do something to kind of kill my June. So I'm going to really, really dig into each team, but not not like in a preview sense. I want to look for the uncertainty. Like, what is the biggest? Because it goes back to the futures episode, and I really thought of you when I did this. What is the biggest pendulum on each team where there's a huge question to be answered, and it can, it doesn't have to be the most interesting question, because sometimes the most interesting question doesn't actually have that big of an effect on how the team will perform that year. It's an interesting question. It's fun. But from a betting standpoint, I'm looking for the biggest uncertainty that could be, change, just kind of like season changing. Like what could happen with a coach, a player, a scheme, a loss of a player that could really, really swing their fortunes.
Sure. And is it asymmetrical?
Yeah, and exactly. Looking for something asymmetrical where it's like, if it goes one way, the team probably still performs about how they're supposed to. But if it goes the other way, this team is winning 14 games or losing 14 games, or this player is leading the league in X. So that's the thing too. I don't want to go bet a bunch of regular season win totals.
Yeah.
But I do want to make a bet. That was like my goal. I'm going to try to make a bet based on every one of these, and I'm going to try to make it decent odds, something longer. Because then you only have to be right, like 4 out of 32 times.
I don't want to pollute your process but the way I see
my process polluted by you.
The way
that sounded really filthy.
The way I see it, there are 2 teams in the NFC that have asymmetrical to the good if the quarterback plays at league average.
No, and it's the you're Falcons fine polluting my process here, because this is. I thought about several teams when I was going through this, and right away I'm like, oh man, like I haven't figured out exactly what the one bet I'll focus in on.
Sure,
I do believe in the Green Bay defense this year.
Yeah. And I mean, they have so many talented players. Just the talent is so good.
I kind of believe in basically, if you can get middle of the pack play out of Jordan Love, it's like, what is stopping this team from winning the division? Because it's not that great of a division.
No, it's not. No, like it's not great to the point where the Packers shouldn't be plus 5-1. Like that's crazy. I don't get it. And same with the.
I'm kind of with you on that one.
Falcons not as good a price, but the same thing. Like if Ritter hits league average, the rest of that roster is good enough that they should win the South going away.
Well, and we don't know much about him, and
yeah,
they are high on them. Obviously, they have to say they are, but they were high on them when they drafted him as well. Like, if let's say he's Kirk Cousins, let's say he's right in that 10 to 12 range.
Yes,
their price is bad. Then
the other one I fired on in the AFC was Ravens North, plus 240. I'm still on Brown's pay to see it island. I am on the Bengals are overrated. Not an island, but that's just a general feeling I have looking at some of their market prices. And the vibes that come out of Baltimore with minicamp are like, they're just glowing, man. Like all these new weapons, the Todd Monken in the mix now, different look, catching people by surprise. Just a lot of really solid players, blue chip players on the defense still. I think I didn't really have a way to fade the market price on Bengals or fade the sleeper buzz on Browns. So ultimately, I'm just like, fine, fuck it, Ravens.
I think I was going to say I polluted my own process by just kind of really quickly looking at each team and thinking about it like the 5-second handicap. And, the Monk and Lamar quotes that we've had already, it's like, it's probably Ravens AFC for the Ravens. Like, I'm with you there. Like, it would have to be, not saying that the division isn't risky enough and you should be going further, but the way I wanted to do things, I wanted to go for the deep shots and the bigger, the further down the tail in the distribution.
I thought hard about
MVP.
I thought hard about Lamar MVP. The prices weren't quite good enough though. No. Because like the other thing about the Ravens is they take the preseason seriously, right? They're not going to fuck off game weeks 2, the first, second games of the preseason. People are going to warm up on them quickly. They're going to be sharp in the early part of the season, probably on offense. And then if they look good coming out of it's tough, but if they look good in the first quarter of the season, people are gonna, Ravens, stock is going to go higher.
It is our division. I think we've at some point live bet the winner of the NFC or AFC.
Every year,
like 3 years in a row now.
Yeah,
and it's always funny. It's like, it's our division. It's always like really close at the end.
Always close.
It's always like
needed.
Cincinnati won the division on an off day because they just canceled the game.
Right?
I think they still would have won it, but it was a weird way to win a bet, obviously.
Yeah. So got a little Ravens, got a little Packers, already got a lot of Jags, got a little bit of Falcons. The one that I'm going to kind of tune. Yeah, good.
Just kind of going back on fun markets and
the
comment I made about how many the menus are increasing and there's so much weird stuff.
Yeah.
And granted, I didn't check what the limits are on this because I'm not in a state where I can use it right now. I'd have to go down to the Iowa, but I believe it was DraftKings had markets for it was an over under for each team.
Sure.
And a lot of them were in the 3 to 5 range.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if it was for win streaks.
Oh.
It was the longest win streak a team will have. Will it be over or under this? And honestly, 95% sure it's a shit market that you don't want to get involved in. But I feel like I'm putting that in the back of my head because there's like one team that's going to have some weird. It's like, man, they have 2 really good shots at it with like 2 soft pockets, and maybe they overlap a little.
Ooh, that's fun.
I don't know. Yeah,
you're going down to the John Deere soon, so you better get to work on homework there. I figured.
I'm gonna be if I'm away from the family, I'll just.
The 2 things that I had to put more time into,
thinking hard about. Sun Collectibles is already got
Dolphins under 3.5 win streak plus 115. Good work, Ben. I don't have a good read on the NFC East at all. I think that one's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a fun 3-way race. I don't think that's runaway Eagles, which is what the market is making it right now. And I need to kind of digest a little more if the schedule affords picking a horse in that race preseason or whatever. Because I think the Giants are being overlooked. I think the Cowboys are being slightly underpriced because of McCarthy. And I think the Eagles, meeting their offensive output the Eagles' schedule, I think, is going to be a little bit of a rude awakening. All right. I also doing a ton of work on defensive player of the year. Fuck, that market is hard. It's so tough. The rubric is weird.
Yeah, I do want to get into award markets
good.
a little as we go through June and July some more. But
okay.
Not only that, but another fun one, and I know a lot of you guys in the Discord like to get into these too, but just like receiving yards leader, finding some mid-price or long shot guys, rushing yards leader, passing yards, those sort of things. They have those for the rookie classes too, which is a really fun way to, hey, I think you guys did a really good job last year finding a bunch of wide receivers who played pretty well, honestly, all things considered. That said, you might do the same this year, and you might be absolutely right, and that guy might finish 4th in the voting if the quarterbacks all play decent.
Yeah, true.
Because it might just be a rookie of the year where it's like, oh man, we have a stud running back who's in a perfect system to get way too many touches, and 3 quarterbacks who are probably starting on day one that have some weapons, have some semblance of hope to be good. So it might be just dead wood kind of getting these wide receiver prices or any of the other running backs. But I think there's some opportunities in those markets where like most receiving yards for a rookie, most rushing yards for a rookie, stuff like that. I think some of you guys have a lot of fun with that.
Mm-hmm. Those are all really tough.
Oh, I know. And again, I think it's an opportunity for you to take some longer shots on.
Yeah. Scoop some hundreds. Yeah.
Scoop some big prices on some guys that I think I don't think his opportunity is being priced in properly here. He's going to play
you know what market is not hard in my opinion? Best bet I made this week?
The USA to win the Women's World Cup.
That's the one.
Yeah, I dug into this a little more even after we spoke.
This should be like even odds.
It really does feel like is no one actually betting into this with real money? Because
I'm not sure people knew it was up. Maybe
why isn't it getting bet down?
I don't know. Maybe people didn't know it was up.
England looked really good in the Women's Euros, but this is not that same squad. And also, America kindly did not play in the Women's Euros because they would have thrashed that ass. But yeah, I think if you like some golfers, maybe parlay it with the Women's World Cup winners USA. Have a fun big ass ticket. If you let's like, oh man, I don't want to bet Scotty Scheffler at 750. Parlay it. Yeah, take it with the Women's World Cup and have a fun July too.
Yeah, I got a couple. Actually, it's not going to get that number graded until August, so that's going to hit the books if it wins right before football starts, which is cool. Baby. Yeah. But yeah, I bet that one pretty hard. A lot of Djokovic to win French Open went right back into that pot.
Yeah, I'll be looking at golden ball, golden boot as well with a couple of prices on.
I stopped betting it at plus 250 for people who are asking. There's still plus 230s around that you can get a big stake on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get to win $3K per click at bet bookmaker still on that.
I took a swing. I like it too. So we are patriotic as fuck.
All right.
Heading into it is, you know what, Drew? It's Flag Day.
It is Flag Day. What a great way to end it. Team America on Flag Day.
Let's go, girls.
Fantastic.
Let's go, ladies.
Fantastic.
DraftKings has plus 275.
Yeah, you can get your $10 down. $27.50.
Hopefully they take 50.
I don't know.
Who knows?
I know. I like the limits I got on what I got. I'm pretty fired up.
So, all right. Well,
America.
We'll be back next week, guys. We'll check it out. We're about 3 weeks away from going deep and only into the NFL, which is going to be super fun. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Drew, just kind of closing thoughts. Have you been listening to any other NFL content?
There's a lot. out
No,
there.
I've had to pare it down because I don't have a lot of time. I'll basically listen to most of the Sumer stuff.
Same.
I like Tej. I like some of the guys. I like Parker. I like the guys they have over there. Obviously, we like Dr. Eric. I'll listen to some of the Ringer stuff if Ben's on.
Sure.
But some of those have been just like, man, I'm wasting my time with this. They're just having fun with this. And honestly, the most fun podcast I've listened to in a long time was I don't remember who the co-host is. I feel like an asshole because I know his name. But Solak and him did like predictions for the NFL in 3 years. And basically they must have had some handshake deal where they had to be outlandish.
Yeah,
and it was just like
I'll just check that out.
Justin Herbert signs with I can't remember what NFC team it was. they had a lot of fun with that. Was a fun episode, but I do like his breakdowns. I'll listen to some of the athletic stuff if I get a chance, but it's been light. I'm looking forward to. I don't know if those guys are going to do it again. I like the kind of closing the book on the trading talk. I can the Sportfolio King guys.
Yeah.
I like those podcasts. They approach looking at the market in a much different way than a lot of people. Those were obviously only in season. So hopefully those guys end up doing that again. That's what I usually took in during the week.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely love that one. Yeah, I mean, I've been so zeroed in on tennis and basketball podcast wise for 2 months now that I really
go take a breather, Duncan.
I got to do a lot of catching up here. Yep.
So, all right. Well, appreciate you guys. Hit the thumbs up if you watched on YouTube. If you listened on the podcast, make sure you're subscribing. If you're in New Jersey or Colorado, give our friends at Sporttrade a shot. Check it out. If you have any questions, DM me. I'll just be watching golf tomorrow, so I'll have some time. See you guys.
Oh yeah. Never get drinking lately. I've been into tiki drinks. Definitely, with the gloomy weather, it's been fun to go to a good dark tiki bar and get my rum drinks on.
A lot of just good nice cold beer. It's been hot here.
Ice cold.
I had some beers. This is my wedding anniversary last